The Wehrmacht fielded dozens of machines in World War II, from Panthers and Tigers to fast recon cars and half-tracks. This video breaks down every important vehicle they put on the battlefield. Let's begin with battle tanks, the Panzers. Panzerwerei, originally designed as a training vehicle, the tiny Panzer I was pressed into combat service during the invasions of Poland and France. Armed only with 2 machine guns and boasting paper-thin armor, it relied entirely on speed and numbers. Panzer II, a stopgap measure that became the backbone of the early Blitzkrieg, the Panzer II featured a 20mm autocannon effective against light vehicles and infantry. Though outclassed later in the war, its chassis proved invaluable for self-propelled guns. Panzer 35T, seized after the annexation of Czechoslovakia, this Skoda-built tank was known for its high-quality construction and pneumatic transmission. It served distinctly in the early campaigns, identifiable by the gap behind its bogie wheels. Panzer 38T, considered one of the best light tanks of the early war. This Czech-designed vehicle was reliable and packed a punch with its 37mm gun. Its robust chassis later became the foundation for the famous Hetzer tank destroyer. Panzer III, designed as Germany's primary tank fighter, the Panzer III utilized a 3-man turret for superior tactical efficiency. While its gun eventually struggled against Soviet armor, it set the standard for medium tank crew layouts. Panzer IV, the true workhorse of the Wehrmacht. The Panzer IV was the only German tank to remain in production throughout the entire war. Up-gunned and up-armored repeatedly, it served on every front from North Africa to Russia. Panzerwerfer Panther built. In response to the Soviet T-34, the Panther combined slope-to-armor, mobility, and a high-velocity 75mm gun. Despite early mechanical teething issues, it is widely regarded as one of the best medium tanks of World War II. Panzer VI and Tiger I, a legend of heavy armor, the Tiger I struck fear into Allied crews with its thick, boxy protection and lethal 88mm gun. Though slow and maintenance-heavy, it could dominate the battlefield from long range. Panzer VI Tiger II, King Tiger. The King Tiger was a massive 70-ton beast, combining the thick armor of a heavy tank with the sloped design of the Panther. While nearly impervious to enemy fire from the front, its weight destroyed bridges and strained its own engine. Next on the list is tank destroyers and assault guns. Stug III, by removing the turret from the Panzer III chassis, Germany created the Stug III, a low-profile assault gun. It became the most produced German armored vehicle of the war, excelling as an ambush predator. Jagdpanzer 38T. Hetzer, small, angular, and difficult to spot. The Hetzer was a cost-effective tank destroyer built on the reliable Czech 38T chassis. Its sloped armor and remote-controlled machine gun made it a nasty surprise for advancing Allied troops. Jagdpanzer IV, known as Guderian's Duck due to its nose-heavy wobble, this low-profile tank hunter carried the powerful long-barreled 75mm gun. It was a deadly defensive weapon, capable of engaging enemy tanks while remaining hidden. Marder II. As German tanks faced tougher Soviet armor, the Marder II was created by mounting a heavy anti-tank gun onto an obsolete Panzer II chassis. It was an open-topped, stopgap solution that provided desperate firepower. Marder III, utilizing the Czech 38T chassis. The Marder III mounted captured Soviet guns or German PK-40s to fight on the Eastern Front. While its crew was exposed to the elements, its gun could knock out most Allied tanks. Nashorn, named the Rhinoceros. This vehicle was essentially a long 88mm gun mounted on a light chassis. It possessed almost no armor protection, relying entirely on its ability to snipe enemy tanks from extreme distances. Jagdpanther, often cited as the best tank destroyer of the war, the Jagdpanther married the excellent Panther chassis with the lethal 88mm gun. It offered a perfect balance of speed, armor protection, and firepower. Ferdinand Elephant, built on rejected Porsche Tiger hulls. The Ferdinand was a sluggish, heavily armored bunker buster with a unique petrol-electric drive. While nearly indestructible from the front, it initially lacked a machine gun for self-defense against infantry. Jagdtiger, the heaviest armored fighting vehicle to see operational service, the Jagdtiger carried a massive 128mm gun capable of destroying any tank. However, it was a logistical nightmare, often breaking down before reaching the battlefield. Next on the list is self-propelled artillery and anti-aircraft. Nakia. Sturmpanzer, Bison, an early experiment in mobile artillery, this vehicle mounted a heavy 15-centimeter infantry gun on a tiny Panzer I chassis. It was comically top-heavy and overloaded, but provided mobile heavy fire support in the early war. Wespe, the Wespe, or Wasp, successfully converted the obsolete Panzer II into a light artillery piece. Fast and mobile, it could shoot and scoot, keeping pace with the Panzer divisions to provide immediate fire support. Hummel named the Bumblebee. The Hummel carried a heavy 15-centimeter howitzer on a hybrid Panzer III and IV chassis. It delivered devastating indirect fire but had limited ammunition storage. Grille, the Grille, meaning cricket, mounted a heavy infantry gun directly onto the Czech 38T chassis. It gave infantry units a way to blast through fortifications with direct fire. Sturmpanzer IV Brummbär. Nicknamed the Grouch or Grizzly Bear, this boxy vehicle was designed specifically for urban combat. Its short-barreled, large-caliber gun was optimized for leveling buildings and blowing apart bunkers. Sturmtiger, a rare beast built on the Tiger I chassis, the Sturmtiger fired a massive 380mm rocket-propelled depth charge. It was designed to demolish entire city blocks with a single shot during urban uprisings. Flak Panzer IV Wirbelwind, the Whirlwind, featured a distinctive open-topped turret housing 4 20mm anti-aircraft guns. It created a wall of lead that was devastating against low-flying aircraft and soft ground targets alike. Flak Panzer IV Ostwind, improving on earlier designs, the East Wind utilized a hexagonal turret with a single, powerful 37mm flak cannon. This allowed it to engage aircraft at longer ranges than its quad-barreled predecessors. Flak Panzer 38T, this interim anti-aircraft vehicle mounted a single 20mm gun on the rear of a 38T chassis. It suffered from very limited armor protection, leaving the gun crew dangerously exposed to strafing runs. Next on the list is armored half-tracks and prime movers. Sd.Kfz 2-1 Hanomag. The iconic Hanomag half-track was the battle taxi of the Panzer Grenadiers. With its sloped armor and off-road capability, it allowed infantry to keep up with the tanks and deploy safely into the heat of battle. Sd.Kfz 250, a smaller cousin to the Hanomag, the 250 was a shortened half-track used primarily for reconnaissance and command roles. Its compact size made it agile, serving effectively as a scout vehicle. Sd.Kfz 7, medium prime mover. This 8-ton half-track was crucial for towing the famous 88mm flak gun and heavy howitzers. With theater-style seating for the gun crew, it was a common sight on all fronts. Sd.Kfz 9, Famo. The heavy lifter of the German army, the Famo was a massive half-track designed to recover damaged tanks. It often took 2 or 3 of them chained together to pull a stuck Tiger tank out of the mud. Sd.Kfz 10, light prime mover, a light half-track widely used to tow small anti-tank guns like the PK-36 and PK-38. It was nimble and produced in large numbers to mechanize the lighter artillery units. Sd.Kfz 11, the standard light artillery tractor, the Sd.Kfz 11 was responsible for towing field howitzers and Nebelwerfer rocket launchers. It bridged the gap between the light and medium prime movers. Sd.Kfz 2, Kettenkrad, a unique hybrid of a motorcycle and a tracked vehicle. The Kettenkrad was designed for paratroopers but found fame in the mud of the Eastern Front. It could tow light guns and navigate terrain that stopped trucks cold. Opel Maultier faced with the deep Russian mud. Engineers converted standard Opel Blitz trucks by replacing the rear wheels with Panzer tracks. The resulting mule became a logistical lifeline when wheeled vehicles were useless. Continuing with armored reconnaissance vehicles. Sd.Kfz 222. This light four-wheeled scout car featured an angled armored body and a turret with a 20mm cannon. Fast and agile on roads, it was the eyes and ears of the reconnaissance battalions early in the war. Sd.Kfz 231 8A Raid, an 8-wheeled heavy armored car with a complex suspension, allowing it to cross rough terrain. It featured 2 driver positions, one front and one rear, allowing for a rapid escape without turning around. Sd.Kfz 134 2 Puma, arguably the best armored car of the war. The Puma combined high speed, an enclosed turret, and a potent 50mm tank gun. It could outfight most Allied reconnaissance vehicles with ease. Sd.Kfz 263 Radio car. Based on the 8-wheeled chassis, this vehicle had a fixed superstructure topped with a large frame antenna. It served as a mobile communications hub, coordinating vast panzer movements. Let's move on to light utility, staff cars, and motorcycles. VW Schwimmwagen, or T-Type 166. Building on the Volkswagen design, the Schwimmwagen featured a bathtub-style hull and a drop-down propeller. It was the most mass-produced amphibious car in history, capable of crossing rivers and muddy bogs. Horch 108, a heavy off-road personnel car used for towing light guns and transporting troops. Known for its robust V8 engine, it was a standard heavy transport in the early war years. Steyr 1500A, a rugged, air-cooled heavy staff car produced in Austria, favored by officers and commanders for its reliability in hot and cold climates, particularly in North Africa and Russia. Mercedes-Benz G4, a massive six-wheeled luxury touring car, often seen in propaganda films carrying high-ranking Nazi officials. It was more of a prestige symbol for parades than a combat vehicle. BMW R75, a heavy motorcycle designed specifically for the military, featuring a driven sidecar wheel for off-road traction. It was a durable workhorse for dispatch riders and reconnaissance units. Next on the list is logistics trucks and transporters. Opel Blitz 3.6, the legendary Opel Blitz, was the primary cargo truck of the Wehrmacht, recognizable by its lightning bolt logo. Reliable and simple, it carried everything from ammunition to troops, keeping the German supply lines moving. Krupp Protze, Kfz 69, known as the Boxer due to its flat-4 engine, this six-wheeled truck featured a unique sloping hood. It was widely used to tow light anti-tank guns and transport motorized infantry. Raupenschlepper Ost, RSO, designed specifically for the brutal conditions of the Eastern Front, the RSO was a fully tracked, slow-moving tractor. It traded speed for the ability to drag artillery through the deepest Russian mud and snow. Henschel 33, a heavy six-wheeled truck that entered service before the war. Sturdy and strong, it was used to haul heavy loads and engineering equipment throughout the conflict. Einheitsdiesel, a standardized diesel truck featuring six-wheel drive and independent suspension. While mechanically complex, it offered exceptional off-road performance for a wheeled cargo vehicle. Finally, we have specialized and siege vehicles. Panzerwerfer 42. This vehicle mounted a 10-barrel Nebelwerfer rocket launcher on top of an armored half-track. Known for the terrifying shrieking sound of its rockets, it provided mobile saturation bombardment. Karl-Gerät, a monstrous self-propelled siege mortar firing a 2-ton shell. Only a few were built to crack the toughest fortresses like those at Sevastopol, requiring a massive crew and crane support. Goliath tracked mine, Sd.Kfz 302-303, a tiny remote-controlled tracked vehicle nicknamed the Beetle. It carried a high explosive charge intended to be driven under tanks or into bunkers, though it was often disabled by cutting its control wire.